Hey, hello, this is Kathy Burris showing up live with some ponderings that I thought might be important to share with you. Partly because I've been pondering, ta-da, my own book, EnVision You, UNstuck and Confident. And the reason I've been pondering it quite a bit lately is because it's been 5 years since I wrote this book, since I published this book. It took longer to write it, but it's been 5 years since I put the book out there so that you could see the pretty little butterfly on the cover. And I've been sitting down with it and rethinking it. Somebody recently asked me, why did you write that book? What made it so important that you put it into a book to share with somebody else? And honestly, I think what I've come to realize is that I wrote the book because I needed the book. Michelle Cachat, an author that I highly recommend, that I've probably quoted in the book at some other point, but I heard her say one time, as authors, we don't write the books that we know everything about. We write the books that we need to know something about. And I think that's why I wrote this, because I was at a point in my life where, honestly, I had already written Lovely Traces of Hope, and you've probably heard me say this before, I had hoped, after I'd gone through all that work of being as vulnerable and transparent as I dared to be in that book, that I could now put it on the shelf and move on through my grief. I've said that before. I've realized we don't really move on. We move forward, but our grief for loved ones is often with us. It is with us for the rest of our life. It's part of who we are. I'm getting off topic. The thing is that I needed to think through what I could do to be unstuck, what I could do to move forward with some confidence. And this is a process. It's not just the process I went through then. It's the process I realized the Lord took me through over and over again. And so I wrote the book because I needed it. And as an external processor, I needed to get it out of me so I could hear what I was thinking. Does that make sense? If you're an external processor, you get it. If you're an introvert, internal processor, you're probably going, I don't know. So anyway, I've been looking at part 1. And the book's divided into 6 parts. But part 1 is what got your attention. And the titles of the chapters in that are, so what changed? Why did you stop? What's your big longing? What's the trouble with confidence? Taking lessons from a psalm. All of those are chapters, short chapters that I wrote, because those were some of the questions I had to ask myself. Why did I stop? Something grabbed me, and it's mostly a story that I shared with you just a minute ago. I didn't want to stay stuck in grief. I wanted to move forward, and I needed to rethink how to do that. So, as I was going through this, and I was pondering it, the 3rd chapter is what the trouble with confidence. And I realized that the trouble with confidence is that we don't know what it feels like to be confident. We don't know what it looks like to be confident. And sometimes we have to go back and define what confidence really is, because we think it looks like that woman over there that's got it all together, that's really standing tall and talking with people and making a difference that we think we should be making too. And then we struggle with that. And my own words came back to haunt me. One of the things that I write about is that and now I have to find it. I thought I had my finger on it. But one of the things that I talk about in the idea of confidence is that we don't know what confidence is for us. What would make us feel confident? And so we struggle with that. And one of the things that a woman shared with me as her definition of confidence was when the smile on her face reflects the smile she's feeling on the inside. And I thought, that's really it. That's it. When what we're showing on the outside is what we're feeling on the inside. When we're aligned with who we really are, when we're doing what we were made to do, then we can be confident. Because we're not trying to be somebody else. We're not trying to do somebody else's work. We're doing what God created us to do. And that doesn't always look like we think it will. We think it should, right? One of the chapters that I wrote in here was called Your Big Longing. And as I read through that chapter, I thought, that's really surface. If I would write the book again, I would dig that whole section out about our biggest longing, because in the book, I ask, what was the longing you had as a child? What's been a longing that you've had that's part of you being confident in doing your work, the work God's given you to do? What's that longing that you have to make the difference you want to make? And one of the authors that I have been challenged by and inspired by is Oz Guinness. And one of the books I'm really challenged by is his book called The Call. And he defines the calling. I'm going to just read it to you because you need to kind of think it through a little bit like I did. Calling is the truth that God calls us to himself so decisively that everything we are, everything we do, everything we have is invested with a special devotion and dynamism lived out as a response to his summons and service. Now, I'm going to put that in the comments because it's a thought to ponder, okay? Now, I'm going to read it again. Calling is the truth that God calls us to himself so decisively that everything we are, everything we do, everything we have is invested with special devotion and dynamism lived out as a response to his summons and service. Wow. I love the word dynamism. I'm going to look that up and do some study on it because that denotes energy and power and confidence. That dynamism, it doesn't mean that we're this ta-da person all the time, but it means that we're committed. It means that we're passionate. It means that I need to do some more study on the word, I guess. If you have a definition of a dynamism, put it in the comments. I'd love to see it. But I was really struck by when I used the chapter heading, Your Biggest Longing, I think what I really wanted, my longing, was to get a handle on my calling, my God call on my life. I've always believed that he's called me. I've always believed that he's given me a desire, a longing to do his work, to point people to him, to lift the chin of a woman to see the face of God. I didn't always know those things, but they've always been part of it. But he talks about people who long for their faith to have integrity and effectiveness in the face of all the challenges of the modern world. Oh, girlfriend, isn't that the longing? That's what I hear women say, whether they say it or not. They want their faith to matter. They want what they do to matter, to make a difference, to honor the Lord, to align the external with the internal, the purpose God has given them. It's not just a surface longing. It's a deep, to the core of who He made you to be, longing. Think about it. If we, you and me, in today's uncertainties, in today's struggles, in today's concerns that we carry, both as a world, in our nation, in our homes even, if we were living out externally, showing externally what was really going on inside, and inside was aligned with the call that God has placed on our life so decisively that our investment in doing that work makes a powerful difference. What would that look like? Envision that. Yeah. If I were to write this book again, I would definitely challenge that thinking. So I decided, okay, it's year 5. Let's have that conversation. If ever we needed to have that conversation, it's now.